Welcome to this Canadian Patriot Podcast, where the roles have reversed a little bit. I came to know Tish Conlin a couple of years back when she invited me to be on her popular podcast. And, we talked about history, geopolitics, my books and stuff. And Tish just exhibited a quality of patriotism, but discipline of mind and heart that I have found very rare. So when I also found out that Tish has decided to take it upon herself to follow as best as humanly possible the life and example of people like Benjamin Franklin and some of the greater and often forgotten Canadian patriotic heroes who moved Canada forward in spite of all opposition. I was really enlivened. So Tish is going to be running as a PPC candidate in the by-elections coming up in Durham. We're going to talk a little bit about some of what's going on in your mind, how you're approaching this, Tish, and also just what you hope Canadians get out of your example going forward. So, Tish, thank you so much for coming on my show.
My pleasure. And we are in the by-election now. The writ dropped on January 28th and the election date set for March 4th. So it is a race right now. Very exciting.
So, how's it going down for you as it stands? Like, what does your day look like on average going in as a candidate?
Yeah, it's grueling. We're out with our wonderful team, growing every day of patriots and wonderful volunteers, grassroots movement, knocking on doors to educate them. As you know, with the severe censorship in Canada, people just aren't getting the word. People are feeling the same level of frustration, cynicism, and actually despair, apathy, all these things. But when you get to them and you talk to them at the door, it's like a breath of fresh air. You wouldn't see. It's like, oh, finally someone who's talking about the issues, because none of the parties are talking about the serious issues facing our country. So we've gone all out. We're investing in like a really great campaign. We're mailing pieces out. We've done events. We have Maxime Bernier coming out this weekend on the 10th. He's coming out again the 17th. But every day I'm out. The most important thing is to be out in the streets talking to people at their doors, because a lot of people still don't even know that there's another option. Educating them about some of the harms that are being done and how important it is to vote differently, to have the courage to vote differently this by-election for the future of our country, because we do need a different voice there. We need a voice, a new party to hold them all accountable. There's been such gross government overreach that it's going to be required to start again with new leaders.
I totally agree. What is your primary focus? Obviously, there's a lot of different points of crisis: economic, cultural,
Yeah.
medical. There's so many different things that are hitting people at the same time. What are you going out with as your message when you talk to people?
So we have, I should have printed out one of our flyers to show it, but we have a really great flyer. All of these issues are connected if the people, your audience is fairly educated with Agenda 2030 to mass unsustainable immigration. And you can see the harm. Like I've talked to people on the street, a lot of people coming in, don't speak English, don't ever intend to work. And, myself, I've worked with many people around the world with my recruitment firm for many years. So I have great respect for all people. A lot of people have come here fleeing tyranny, and they're the ones complaining. So immigrants are telling me it's not fair. They had to like qualify to get here, fight to get here, prove that they had the skills. And now people are flooding in. To share a brief story, and it's not me, because one of our largest groups supporting my election campaign are people from other countries. These are immigrants who understand tyranny and understand that People's Party is the only one standing between gross government overreach and tyranny. And they agree there's just too many people coming in. When you have people dying because they can't get treatment, something's wrong. And I explained it's like the analogy of being in an airplane with turbulence. You have to put your own mask on first. So people get it. There's the mass unsustainable immigration is contributing to the housing and homeless crisis. We have foreign speculation and foreign buying of residential homes. So youth just can't even afford rent right now. To ease up economically, you have to lower immigration. And even the Liberals did that many decades ago when it was a similar crisis. And there's not enough jobs, there's not enough doctors, and there's not enough homes. And no matter what Polyev says, because he never says the word lower or reduce. He's not allowed to. It's Harper and Mulrooney who signed us over to Agenda 2030. So he's the guy to keep it going with the high density homes and moving us into these 15-minute cities. So he can't even say the word lower. So people love that we say we need to lower immigration. And because I have a background living internationally and I speak in other languages, people see this is nothing to do with racism. This is to do with common, just economic factors, and they agree. So that's
Yeah.
a huge. Parental rights is the other issue that's
Okay.
massive. I take a strong stand to support parents' rights. It's again not anti any group. No one loves their parents more. No one loves children more than their parents. And I have garnered huge support over the last few years. I was the speaker for the Million March here in Durham. I've spoken about the gross harm being done to our children with these radical ideologies at Durham District School Board. People know me well. They know I'll take a stand. And when elected, I will repeal Bill C-4 that removed parental rights and restore balance in the schools. That's very important. A lot of
Mhm.
people like that. We also have
That
huge issues with the
that's also
medical
the
sector.
conversion therapy bill, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And there, as you probably know best, there was a gentleman in BC, this is our own country, who was imprisoned because he wanted his daughter, who's being indoctrinated in schools, to like, hey, take a breather. Let's just get, let's make sure this is something that you would want to do. And sadly, his spouse um, got to go ahead with this. And we know, these hormone conversion drugs like Lupron are so toxic to children. They're causing huge issues with arthritis, osteoporosis, incredible pain and bleeding. And in fact, there was recently a study came out where massive drops in cognitive function were revealed from these drugs. They are not safe at all. So just starting with parental rights is a practical step, and many people understand this, and we really think we've gone off track here with the ideologies for our kids. And you will know them by their fruits. It says that in math, in the Bible. And when the fruits of any effort are people getting sicker and more depressed, you're not going the right direction. And
Mhm.
that's what we can see here. So that's the second thing. I'm standing against net zero policies for our farmers. We have a rich farming community in Durham, and a lot of farmers, they've been told to vote for the Conservative Party. So I have an uphill battle to win their trust within the next 3 weeks to educate them that net zero, like net zero COVID, net zero carbon is not only unachievable, but it will result only in mass poverty and hopelessness. That's the same agenda. And so I take a strong stand against net zero policies. The data is obviously skewed, not correct, and it absolutely will harm our farmers. Look what's happening in Europe. So that's an issue. I want to protect our Canadian food security and energy security. And the other issue I'm very big on is individual rights and freedoms, medical freedom and choice, and really tackling over time. Of course, this will take time, but I plan to be there for a long time. This will be my life work, is tackling the corruption within our medical system that has neither health nor care, restoring integrity, getting the doctors who spoke out against the COVID agenda and narrative back to rebuild an integrated medicine model. So those are really our 4 big points, and making sure people have real options for treatments. Bill C-47, which is being fought, is poised to take away even natural remedies. It's just a gross government overreach. So Canada really has 338 MPs who aren't speaking out and doing right for Canadians, no matter what party, in my opinion. They're captured by globalist interests, all of them. And someone should have come forward about the harm of the COVID shot much
Mhm.
earlier. There are MPs in other countries who've done so. I'd intend to be the first, if I'm elected, to talk about, in terms of drug safety, there's the duty to ensure that drugs being presented to Canadians are safe and effective, and that's not being done. So there's so many issues, but by removing barriers, I think a lot of change can occur in Canada. And I think that's why I've saw at a federal level, because there are a lot of federal barriers to people's health, happiness, and prosperity that can be removed with an intelligent individual in Parliament.
Amen. Yeah, and I mean, for those who might doubt any of those points you just made, I mean, Tish, the fact that you also are a registered holistic nutritionist, you are somebody who has written books on nutrition, on energy, on the Thrive Protocol is your newest book that people could pick up. You've definitely studied a lot of the concepts of health science in a way that I can testify. I've read your stuff. I've listened to your presentations. You have insight. So you're in a very good position to judge what is and is not proper proper policy right now when it comes down to the science of health on this level, and the danger as well of just having the access to alternative treatments and especially vitamins even removed from basic human consumption. That's a serious thing. So I'm really glad you're taking all of these things up. You must encounter people when you're doing your rounds, knocking on doors, talking to people. I'm guessing you probably encounter people who say, "I like what you're saying, but really, isn't the conservative party the only way that we can get real resistance or something?" So I've heard that as well in my time organizing politically over the years. Like, let's pick the lesser of the two evils. At least we can possibly, we can be practical and get our resistance to the Great Reset that way. What do you say to those people who reluctantly have their conservative uh,
Yeah.
banners out on their lawn, even though that they know it's kind of a weak bet.
If I had a recording device, I could just record my response because I have to say it so many times each day. Luckily, I have a background as a corporate recruiter. I had a very successful business. I was I had a talent solutions company. I had up to 10 staff, and I had, great revenue, great client relations, but you have to pound the phone as a corporate recruiter. So I learned how to say the same message over and over with the same passion. Luckily, I have good energy. So this is a pivotal question, and I get it all the time. But what I tell everyone is I say, we have to start voting differently. It's just like Einstein said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. We really are seeing, it's particularly in Durham, the uniparty in action. I've been talking about it for years, but you have a candidate that was parachuted in for the Conservative Party that was a liberal, and actually, there are some documents that that are quite startling. To use the word radical liberal, he compared white nationalists to like ISIS in one of his videos. So he was a former liberal and he worked for the Democratic Party. So he's the conservative guy, and the guy who ran against him, who was rejected in our riding, is now the liberal candidate. So you have the uniparty right there, and
Mhm.
people are seeing they're not facing the issue. So that's helping to convince people. The other thing I tell people is that this is just a by-election. And a lot of people don't think the conservatives are being conservative. Look at the Reform Party came in back, you would know when the Conservative Party even back then stopped really being conservative, just conservative in name only, but voted liberal in all their votes. People can look at the voting record for Polyev and a lot of the conservatives. It's really liberal. Though they're the ones pushing through the central bank digital currency, the digital ID, pushing the high density homes. So I think people can understand that there is a need for a real conservative in Parliament. It's a unique opportunity because it's only a by-election. It's not a general election. So give me a try, and then you can see how it goes. So that's one of the pitches is there's nothing to lose because none of them are addressing the issues. It's only a by-election, just one seat. So give it a try.
Mhm.
And then I tell people vote. We have to stop voting along party brands. I think in the future we'll see more independence. I personally believe, and I think you do too, that People's Party has by far the best platform for Canada. It's the only one will exit the corrupt Paris Accords. It has great economic stuff, great societal stuff, preserving our culture, and putting Canadians first. So that really resonates with people. People who haven't voted before are voting for me. I get people who I do get a lot of conservatives voting for me who are just fed up. the previous MP had done a lot of harm, broke a lot of promises. So those are some of the things I say when they talk about it. Believe me, it's a lot of work to convince people. Like every day we have people pulling out their conservative signs and putting ours. Because Tucker Carlson, I love Tucker because he said, and he has a huge reach, that the conservatives are weak, pathetic, uniparty, and called them like, aren't they like really feminine? So a lot of men who are like, I'm a man. I said, well, look what Tucker said. He goes, get that sign out of there. I'm a strong PPC man. That's just a funny story, but yeah, I mean, it's a lot of education to convince people to get away from party lines and just vote for the issues and vote for someone who has a track record of honesty, integrity, and who stood up for you. People saw that I stood up for them with the lockdowns and mandates, and I spoke out again very loudly about putting an experimental shot in our children. And a lot of people were very angry at me in this community. But a lot of those same people come up and apologize now and thank me for my courage and honesty. So I'm hoping over time, the course of this election, which is short, that will resonate with people.
If you find yourself in a position where, well, let's not use the word if, let's use the word when you find yourself swept in and you've got a seat now, what do you foresee your role to be, since you're obviously won't be in a position to necessarily make policy? However, I agree, like having somebody with just a human being with a conscience and a power of using their reason is a rare and high value thing in our day and age. We saw it with Randy Hillier, just
Mhm.
somebody who is a voice of reason, has a huge power to break the narratives, the
Mhm.
complacency, get people into that important discomfort zone that they should be in if they're participating in something evil. Um, what do you foresee you'll be doing as a representative on that level?
Well, that's another great question. And obviously, after I'm elected, I'm going to talk to you about a few things as a strategist, historical strategist. But I have been well guided throughout my life. I was called to step up, and it was an instant. I gave up everything. I gave up, and a lot of people were angry, my friends, family, even, and my partner, and went. But yet I've been so passionate, and people say, you've stuck with it all these years, slogging it out when people gave up. I am indefatigable. I think there's low-hanging fruit that as a new party that I can tackle. I've learned to speak in a way that might not be so direct, but and also phrase what I'm doing to benefit all Canadians. So I do see some areas where I can immediately make change. Yet I have to say, honestly, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. So, coming up against the government bureaucracy might be a new thing. However, I'm very stick with it about getting things done. I've got some good advisors I've met throughout the last few years. And I think that one of the main things I'll achieve is I will give millions of Canadians hope that it can be done. We can break through the spell cast over people with either party and switching knee jerk. Oh, this one's bad. I'm going this one will be forever broken. And I think it'll open up the door for people of integrity stepping up, whether it's in People's Party or independent or whatever. So we have people of integrity and intelligence taking over positions at all levels, federal, provincial, and local, to restore our great country. And I think that work will happen. And I think I'll be like what's the word that I'll be the spark, whatever it is that
So
can
spark plug, gadfly, there's a lot
okay,
of
I've said long day.
catalyzer.
Yeah, it's that the
Yeah.
catalyst to make that
Okay.
achieve. I've always been a catalyst. I've broken through a lot of things. This has been incredibly tough because the mindset, the fear over Trudeau. So when you're living in the vibration of fear, and when I do study energy and frequency, and then you just revert to another thing if you're being fear-mongered to. You have to step outside of that and look with a calm mind at what's the best choice. And so I tell people every other vote is a waste in this by-election because they're all the same. You might as well vote for your values and have the courage to vote differently. And people get empowered when I say, have the courage, and I have that right on my flyers, have the courage to vote differently, send a message to Ottawa. So I think that number one, this is going to give enormous hope to many Canadians who have been speaking out about the harm being done, and show them that we are making progress in our country. And then also will open up the door for other people to step up. And I'm certain there are a lot of things I can do with one seat. I will be able to hold Poilievre and the Conservatives accountable, because no one's really holding them accountable. All you hear about is him holding Trudeau accountable. No one's calling him out. So
Hmm.
that's going to be a fun job for me, because I love a good debate, and I can see myself doing that to make sure um, he is conservative and doing the right thing for people. And when I say conservative, because some people don't like that word, conserving our money, freedom, and health. And he has done none of that,
Hmm.
not at all, in my opinion. I think the data shows that. And again, you don't have to listen to me. I have a holistic background. So you might not agree with some of the things I say about nutrition or other things, but you just have to look at the data on harm everywhere. And
Yeah.
the government publishes that. So it's clear, it's factual, and he's done nothing to stop it. And he's benefited from it actually quite largely in the last few years. But I
Hmm.
can't confirm that,
All right.
Mm.
Cool. So I guess going out of this, you are when is the actual the date of the vote, and also what can people? You're in Durham, Ontario. If people want to help you, if they're maybe geographically in your area, and they want to participate on your team or at least go to an event. I know you got Randy Hillier also in your sphere of
Yes.
discussion, who's going to be
Yeah.
showing up at your next event with Maxim Bernier. What do you, how do people reach out? Where do they go? How do they help?
Actually, great. Yeah, so we have a couple events. I'll tell everyone we have Maxime coming out this Saturday. We have an event here in Scugog. You can access our events. You can contact me through my website, patriciaconlin.ca. If you want to donate even $20, I know a lot of people are strapped, so don't donate if you have no money, but if you have a little extra, we are running a very professional campaign. We're doing a mail out. We've done multiple flyers. We're really trying to, because I've been a background very successful in sales. You need multiple touches. So I'm trying to get multiple touches out to people. So you can donate whatever amount you feel called to donate. It's tax deductible. So we have Maxime this Saturday, also on the 17th. At a small kind of unique pub in Hampton, which is a little rural town in our riding. Happy on the 17th, a drop in. I know it's family day, 2:30 to 5:30. So you can go through our website to contact me, reach out if you have any questions. If you want to come and do canvassing, there's nothing more fulfilling. People get scared, but people are open at the doors. Now, listen, in 21, it was challenging. I had to stand up and make sure I'm a black belt. But now it's people are open. They're ready for a conversation. It's a breath of fresh air talking to people. So not only is it good exercise, and it's been so sunny and lately, that people who go out from like 17 to 85, we love it and we have fun. So certainly if you feel that you've got the professional skills to canvas, you can reach out that way as well. But it's definitely other than having my children, what I've done, even though I haven't been paid, been living off of savings, this has been the most important thing I've ever done in my life. I spoke when I lost everything. I lost all my things I loved, my career and my speaking career and my partner, and even a lot of the good friends I'd had since I was a kid. It was like that's a big loss to face. But I can honestly say that despite that, I've never had such an incredible adventure. Never met so many wonderful people. I've never been able to do so much good with some of my public speaking and heartening people, and some of my detox training to help people lift out these toxins, even the harm of the shots. There's a protocol.
Hmm.
And so it's the right path. And I tell people, don't be afraid to step back and lose some things, because I haven't lost anything. I have gained so much from this journey, and it's just going to keep going. And my strength is growing daily, my courage, my commitment to help rebuild this wonderful country. And so if you just keep going with something, it will happen. So I want to tell people not to lose hope in our country. And I think if I can achieve this, which I pray I can, I think that's going to give so much hope that we desperately need to millions of Canadians to step up and get involved.
Amen. No, that's great, Tish. And I really do hope people take this to heart. Check out your website, lend their support, financial, physical, whatever. And I know I can testify as well that it is incomparable and it's difficult to just like work it as a mental exercise, the transformative power of taking action when you have knowledge. I mean, knowledge is a power, but that comes with courage to get out there, get into your discomfort zone, and that's where you grow. You know, the baby bird doesn't learn to fly by staying on the branch. It's got to get into the discomfort zone. So it's the same thing for everything we do in life. So I really do thank you for being a role model, taking the actual courage to jump out there into the world and show people how to create healthy moral discomfort for those who would prefer to live in Shadowland. And I look forward to future conversations. So thank you, Tish.
Me too. I'll have to get you on the podcast for a situation update. I haven't been able to read much, so maybe after the by-election.
Amen.
All right. Thank
All
you so
right.
much. Bye
Thank you.
now.
Bye bye.